All right, so today we're going to tackle a text you think you know, but I want you to forget everything you've heard because we're about to pull back the curtain on the Kama Sutra's surprisingly deep guide to something we all grapple with: how to manage our time here on Earth. Okay, let's just dive right in. When you hear the word Kama Sutra, yeah, I know where your mind just went. But what if I told you its main purpose wasn't just about physical pleasure at all? What if it was actually a complete master plan for living a full and meaningful life? That's exactly it. See, at its heart, this ancient text is a really structured philosophy for finding balance. It argues that a truly successful life isn't about mastering just one thing. It's about successfully juggling a combination of life's biggest goals. The real question is, which goals? And when should we pursue them? Well, the text breaks it all down into three fundamental pursuits, or you can think of them as pillars, that every single person has to engage with to live a complete life. They're like the essential ingredients for human fulfillment. So first up, you've got Artha. This is all about worldly success, getting knowledge, learning skills, making money, all the resources you need to really thrive. Then there's Kama, and yeah, this is the one the book is famous for. It's the pursuit of pleasure, art, desire, and all that emotional connection. And finally, there's Dharma. This is about fulfilling your duties to society and living an ethical, righteous life. So you have these three huge goals. In the Kama Sutra's first answer for how to tackle them is to lay out this very clear, very structured timeline. It basically suggests there's a specific season of your life for each one. So check out this breakdown of life. It's pretty wild. In childhood, up to about age 16, your main job is arta, basically just acquire knowledge, learn things. Then, from their youth until you're around 70, the focus shifts entirely to kama. This is your time to experience pleasure and engage with the world. And then finally, in old age, from 70 on, you dedicate yourself to dharma and spiritual pursuits. Seems almost too neat and tidy, doesn't it? Exactly. And that's the thing, right? This super neat structure, it immediately brings up a massive question. If the whole point is to live a balanced life, how can you possibly do that by focusing on only one thing for decades at a time? Doesn't that just create a life of separate little boxes instead of one connected, whole existence? And this is where things get really interesting, because we run right into a big philosophical problem. This seemingly perfect structure gets put under a ton of pressure. And the text itself doesn't shy away from this. It totally acknowledges the tension between living life in these strict stages versus living a more integrated life. And this perfectly illustrates the central conflict. On one side, you've got the strict rule: learn first, enjoy life later, and then be righteous at the very end. But on the other side, you have this ideal of a balanced life, where you're pursuing all three things together, and each one makes the others richer. You can't have both. Or can you? This is the key question that the Kama Sutra really wrestles with. Is life supposed to be like a relay race, where you pass the baton from one goal to the next? Or is it more like juggling, where the whole point is to keep all three goals up in the air at the same time? And this is where the text gets really smart. It doesn't just leave you hanging with this contradiction. It actually resolves it by offering a much more flexible, more realistic way of looking at the whole framework. Okay, so the first part of the answer is pretty subtle, but it's a game changer. The rule isn't saying you can only pursue dharma in old age. It's saying you should primarily focus on avoiding its opposite, adharma, unrighteousness. So while your main focus might shift to dharma, that doesn't mean you have to completely abandon artha or kama, as long as they don't get in the way of your main pursuit. That's already a much more workable approach. But the Kama Sutra doesn't stop there. It delivers one final, ultimate principle that completely reframes the entire philosophy into something incredibly practical for everyday life. Okay, so here it is. The crucial point is this. After laying out the ideal structure and then poking holes in it, the text gives us its final, definitive piece of advice on how to actually live. I mean, that's it. That's the core teaching, right there. The text basically says, look, life is uncertain. It can end at any time, so you shouldn't wait. You should pursue whatever righteous goal is available to you whenever it becomes available. That rigid timeline is an ideal, sure, but reality calls for something more pragmatic. And this really shows you the final model. It's a system of focus, but integrate. When you're a kid, yeah, your main job is to learn. But if an opportunity to do a good deed, dharma, comes along, you take it. In your youth, focus on kama, absolutely. But if you can also pursue wealth and fulfill your duties at the same time, you should. The stages are about your primary focus, not about exclusive dedication. So the big takeaway from the Kama Sutra's life philosophy is this: Frameworks are there to guide you, but the real wisdom is recognizing that life is unpredictable. The goal isn't to perfectly follow a rigid plan, it's to build a complete, integrated life by grabbing those opportunities for growth, pleasure, and duty whenever they pop up. And that really leaves us with something to chew on, doesn't it? In our modern world, we're obsessed with 5-year plans and strict career paths, but maybe this ancient text has it right. What if the best life plan isn't a plan at all, but just a commitment to being open to every single opportunity to live a complete life? It's definitely something to think about.